somebody gonna take him out. Well, not somebody. Sid will. Sid was gonna take him out, and they gonna think Laura did it. Because not only that, Laura's supposed to be walking up and see something or whatever, and she gonna be all shocked and stuff like that. I said, Dalton gone. I said, Dalton up out of there. But hey, y'all, welcome back to another review of Life of Chester for General Hospital, November 17, 2025. First things first, let me know y'all thoughts on this episode down below, which I think that y'all like the episode. Wait a minute, let me see if I could put this photo up. Oh, I ain't even took no photo yet. I forgot. I forgot. I ain't even got no thumbnail yet, y'all. But yeah, what did y'all think of the episode? I said, Lord, you done messed up. Look, she didn't even know they was filming. I said, don't say you gonna murder him. Y'all know how they be. I murder you myself. I said, don't say it, Lord. They watching. I said, they watching. But yeah, on today's new episode of General Hospital, we're going to start with Alexis and Felicia. So they were still talking about Portia, about her whereabouts, the fact that she lied, questioning whether or not she was the one who shot Drew. I said, here they go again. We still don't know who did it. We still don't know who did it. But yeah, Alexis and Felicia was talking about Portia possibly shooting Drew. Curtis asked Portia how the checkup went. She just sitting up there lying and stuff like that. Trina's still mad about Jordan. Trina want to tell her parents the truth. Kai ain't no talking her out of it, looked like. Dante tells Brooklyn about Rocco. I know what I was supposed to be talking about. When Gio came forward and told Dante what happened, he told Gio how he hasn't learned anything. I said, you haven't either. I said, you haven't either. I understand you upset. I understand that your son is locked up and all this other stuff. And in the other situation, your son almost died. I understand. But that's also your son, and you haven't learned diddly freaking squat. The reason why he ain't talking to you now, it's that very reason right there. You done told him, went off on Gio, told him get out his face and everything. Now I've been saying, I said, now this would be the time for you to go off or whatever. But at the same time, he could have did that a better way. He was like, if you don't get out my face, so basically he gonna say something he gonna regret. And I said, you already done said a lot you gonna regret. I'm assuming Brooklyn front to defend him. She did try to defend Gio though. But I said, you haven't learned nothing, Dante. What the word going on? He got his temper for Sonny, didn't he? I said, like, I get it. You got a right to be upset. And I've been saying, I was like, this is the moment where he should be upset because even though it was Emma's idea, you went along with it. You could have said, no, we're not going to get them involved. Then Lulu over here trying to get Danny and Charlotte to come forward. And I said, y'all, look, everybody going to be locked up. Danny going to be the one to go to jail because they said something about he had already been in trouble. Was that because he had been drinking or something else? I know they keep saying that Danny, will be at risk and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that it's because of that time he was drinking. It might be something else that I'm just forgetting. But yeah, what else? Where I stopped at. Trina want to tell her parents the truth. Dante tells Brooklyn about Rocco being arrested. They was talking about that. Sonny asked Turner why she double-crossed his grandson. Excuse me. And she was just saying how she was doing her job, and the reason why is because Dalton showed up with this evidence. And he was like, the police ain't even tested the evidence, so you don't really know. So they still got to wait 2 days. I said, it's crazy how justice is supposed to work. Ain't no way you lock somebody up and you don't even know if they actually did it or not. But yeah, what else? Let's see. Portia doesn't want anyone to know that she's pregnant still. I said, shoot, you don't told people. Curtis over here running his mouth. Y'all might as well go and tell Trina. That's the person that she really don't want to find out, Trina. While Trina talking noise and stuff. Turner said new evidence was presented, so she couldn't ignore it. Lulu wants to do something, and that's when she ends up talking to Carly about having Danny and Charlotte come forward, and she don't know if she want to do that because what if it doesn't work out? Because they just went in there thinking that Rocco had a deal and stuff like that, and he didn't. And how did she sacrifice her daughter to save her son and stuff like that? And I said, oh my goodness. Then you got Rick over here talking to Alexis about trying to convince her to have Danny and Charlotte come forward. She was like, she's not going to sacrifice her grandson. He ends up saying how he could help her win Willow case. He ends up mentioning Portia. And he finna get ready to tell what he knows. And I said, I thought, wasn't he her attorney? I thought they couldn't say nothing. I thought they had a little, I don't know if that, I don't know if that, how do I say it? I don't know if that applies to other attorneys, but I thought you couldn't tell. But yeah, what else? Lulu wants to do something. Britt confronts Emma. Says she knew Emma put Rocco up to it and stuff like that. Britt started to think that Rocco was manipulating her and he didn't care about her. He ended up telling her, that's not true. He actually does care about you. I don't agree, but, I allowed him to make his own decision, and he seems to think she's a good person. I said, exactly. I said, how did this come back to that? He didn't want to do it. He said he didn't want to do it because of Britt, but he agreed to do it. He agreed. They shouldn't have went to him for him to, they shouldn't have did it. I know people been saying, like, Rocco and them the one who did it. They didn't tell them to go do that. But they should have never got them involved. Especially after the whole drinking situation. Especially after that. But yeah, the way Dante went off, I was Dante, you ain't gonna never get. I thought, look, you was inching closer and closer to having something to do with him. Now he gonna be mad at you again. Now he gonna be even more upset. But yeah, let's see. Nathan ends up stopping by to update Laura about Rocco. Said how he helped him get settled in. Gio tells his parents he was the reason why Rocco broke into the lab, and he was just explaining things about what happened. They was trying to prove that Dalton was testing on animals, but everything that happened and how Rocco wasn't supposed to go, but they did it anyways. Dante was upset, said he didn't look after his little brother and stuff like that. Then when Emma came up and said it was her idea, he told me, so you sacrificed your brother. You got your brother into this to impress a girl, and he's just going off on Gio and stuff. And I said, I knew he was gonna be upset, obviously, but I didn't think he was just gonna go off and say everything that he said. Brooklyn did try to defend Gio, so maybe she just scored points with her son. Maybe she just scored points with her son because he done went off. He done went off on him. But yeah, hold on. But yeah, what else? Let's see. Excuse me. Let's see. Where I stopped it. Oh, Gio. Turner ends up asking Sonny if he's sure that Rocco didn't do it because kids say they innocent all the time, which is true. She ain't lie about that. So he's like, if you ask anybody about Rocco, and they'll tell you that Rocco's not that type of person or whatever. I thought she know. Well, she don't know, but I feel like when he was saying he didn't do it and just begging them to believe him and stuff like that, I thought in that moment she was realizing something ain't right. But now I don't even think this gonna get proven because they finna take Dalton out. Now I don't know how true that is, but based on the promo this morning that they dropped, somebody, I don't know what Laura gonna see, but I'm assuming that Sewell finna take him out because they supposed to be investigating the lab and stuff. If they go in that lab, they gonna end up finding what Sewell been working on. They gonna end up finding it, and poor Anna still gone. Poor Anna still gone, y'all. What else? Let's see. Excuse me. I already said Britt said Rocco used her, and that's what Emma explained that he didn't. Lula said Danny and Charlotte can come forward and be a witness. And I said, if Danny comes forward, won't he go to jail for whatever he did last time? Laura tells Dalton he's a liar. They just started going back and forth. She was like, that my grandson didn't do it. You framed him. Everybody pulled out their cameras and stuff like that recording. I said, Laura, don't say you're going to murder him. I said, Laura, do not say you're going to murder him. Because that's what they say when they be in the heat of the moment. I said, they recording. So she ended up telling him, you the one who did it, whatever. She slapped him. She slapped him. I said, Lord, no, they recorded, girl. I said, you might as well just hand over the mayor position to this man, what's his name? Ezra. So then she ended up telling him how, basically, if anything happened to her grandson, or if, what did she say? Basically, if anything happened to her grandson, that he gonna pay or something, she said. Basically, the same thing as the murder. It ain't the same thing, but that's the way they gonna take it. That's the way they gonna take it. They setting Laura up. They setting Laura up just like they set Rocco up. Hold up. But yeah, what else? Let's see. I said, Laura, they recording. Then Nathan and Elizabeth was back there watching the whole thing. What else? Let's see. Rick ends up stopping by Alexa's office to talk about Rocco. He said he want a truce. He want Danny and Charlotte to come forward. She was like, no, she's not gonna sacrifice her grandson. That's when he was like, I knew you wasn't gonna, do it. So I got some information to help with Willow case. I could offer you another name, Portia. And she was like, what do you have on Portia to make it, seem like she's the one who did it? He's like, he got a lot. I said, snitch. I said, she got an alibi. So Nina got an alibi. Curtis got an alibi. Portia got an alibi. The only people that don't, and also on the promo, Chase, I about to say, want to be Detective Tail, but he is a detective. He's supposed to have evidence that Michael lied about the alibi. And I said, see, Jacinda's supposed to been told him the truth. He asked her. She lied. But yeah, let's see. But I was like, Michael, the only one that don't got an alibi, and Willow. Michael and Willow, the two don't got an alibi. Kai said, Trina was talking to Kai about her parents getting a divorce. She want to tell him the truth. She want to tell them the truth. She ends up saying that the strain between them is because of Drew or whatever, and he was like, maybe it's not because of Drew, maybe it's because of something else. So they started to talk about the fact that Portia don't have an alibi, so maybe she did it, and Trina was like, she can't believe that her mother would do something like that, or that her dad knew about it and stuff like that. And she was like, she don't know if she want to come forward, and he was like, would that be something you would want to know if they actually did it? And I say, well, you need to tell something. But yeah, I was like, might as well go and tell. Excuse me, but yeah, she's still mad at Jordan. To myself, it's just because of Jordan. She gonna be, if I tell them the truth or whatever, then Drew won't have nothing on them or whatever, and they can stay together. And I said, did you not hear them say that that ain't the reason why they not staying together, because they don't want to? Now Portia keep making it seem like the reason they ain't together or they breaking up is because of Jordan, but it ain't. Well, they ain't the only one, because she did be in his face too much and he was in her face too much. They was doing too much. They was doing too much, but she done did worse. Portia done did way worse. Well, yeah, what else? Where I stopped it. Portia says, Portia, Curtis was talking to Portia about the baby. Portia reveals that she saw Jordan and him kissing and stuff like that. I thought he gonna say that was the first time we did anything and stuff like that. He didn't. He didn't. She was like, it's fine or whatever. We both moving forward. Dante said Gio hasn't learned anything, and I was like, you haven't learned anything either. You just talk crazy to him, and he been mad at you because of that. That's the reason why he won't talk to you, and now you just made it worse. Maybe he'll still talk to him because of the whole Ned situation. Oh, they also didn't show Ned, y'all. Kai and Trina said Portia don't have an alibi. Curtis wants to keep ultrasound because she hid it. When she knew he was coming in, she hid it. So then she must have forgot because she flipped over the notebook and stuff like that, and that's when he seen it. And he's like, can I keep it? And he just walking out there just so happy and proud. And I said, oh, his feelings going to be hurt because I don't think it's going to be his baby. I think it's going to be Isaiah's, but I might be wrong. What else? Let's see, it's 3:07. Where he tells Alexis about Portia. And I said I thought he couldn't say anything. Turner said the doctor evidence will be tested, so they'll find out if he's telling the truth or not. And I was like, dude, they finna take him up out of there. I said, uh-oh, Lord slapped doctor and said it won't end well for him. And I was like, yeah, it's not going to end well for you either. I feel like I forgot somebody. Who did I forget? Oh, Rick was upset at Turner for double-crossing him, too. What else? I think that was it, y'all. I think that was it. Oh, Laura and Elizabeth. What was they talking about? I think what happened with Rocco, and that's when Nathan came to update her or whatever. Then that's when Dalton showed up. I said, Dalton, that's why you finna go bye-bye. That's why you finna go bye-bye. But that's it, y'all. Let me know y'all thoughts on this episode down below. Stay tuned for the next review. Until next time, do